So if you want to use goal seek in this assignment, in Excel, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you've changed your properties. So here it's not going to be under File or Edit, it's going to be under the Excel button. And for me it's under Preferences. And if I go to Calculation, so here I went to the Calculation, and then at the Limit Iterations, I can have maximum iterations here, but my maximum change should be pretty large. I mean a pretty small number. So we want our true value, our answer, to be very close to the actual value that we're looking for. So I'm going to write this as 1 e to the minus 24. That will give me pretty good resolution. And then you hit OK, and that fixes your problem. Now let's look in problem 27. I feel like it's set up a little better. You could look at problem 726. That's fine. This is from the 8th edition. That doesn't have that weird 7th chapter. Here I'm just guessing what a number is for my hydroxide. You can simplify the equation, the final equation in that problem, so that it's pretty straightforward, just related to hydroxide. If you do the unsimplified version, it's a little different. We've got our hydronium ion, that Kw divided by hydrogen ion, which is hydroxide, right? And then here's my formal concentration that I'm referring to here as well. You can see this kind of looks like it's going to come from mass balance of some kind, or a charge balance. So what I want to do, you can either goal seek on the simplified or the unsimplified. In this case I get the same answer, but it's all going to refer to this hydroxide ion concentration. So apparently in this problem I knew that the solution was going to be slightly basic, so my hydroxide ion concentration should be greater than 10 to the minus 7, because in a neutral solution you've got 1 times 10 to the minus 7. So if I say this is, if I'm just going to guess roundabout, and I say, okay, this is going to be 1 e to the minus 5, okay, then I can set my goal seek here. In this case, because apparently it changed this one but not this one too much, my simplified version, I'm going to go to Data, not Solver. Where's my goal seek? Tools. Okay, it's under Tools for me. On the I go to Goal Seek, and I want to set that cell, that whole giant equation, I want to set that one equal to, what do I want to set that to? Good question. The answer was 5.7 times 10 to the minus 10, so that's probably the Ka or the Kb in that problem. So I'm going to set that to 5.71 e to the minus 10. Okay, and then I'm going to change the cell, the hydroxide cell, because that's the only one that it's dependent on, and I hit OK. It does its thing. I get my answer there. And it says that my target value, there's my target value, and that's what it got me to, which is exactly that same value. If you don't change those limits, then it won't get that far, right? It'll say, okay, if you're in with 0.001 of the true answer, then you'll be fine, and it just won't change your answer. So got that. In the unsimplified version, here I'm not referring to this hydroxide concentration. I'm referring to the formal concentration, the hydrogen ion concentration, the proton concentration, and this Kw over H+. As you can see, this number is a number that is guessed, and then this is dependent on the hydrogen ion concentration and also Kw. So it's this case that I would change. For this goal seek, I'd be referring to this hydrogen ion concentration, and so if I change this, again, it's going to have to be less than 10 times 1 times 10 to the minus 7, because it's a basic solution. So if I guess this is 1 e to the minus 8, okay, I'm going to get some answer here that's not correct. I know my answer should be 5.71 times 10 to the minus 10 based on the Ka or the Kb of that equilibrium. And so again, I can just go to my tools menu, and go to goal seek, and I want that cell to get to the value 5.71 times, or e to the minus 10, okay? And I want that to do it by changing my proton concentration. So there we go. Again, our value that GoalSeek found matches exactly the target value. We click OK. And then over here, I just have the actual, based on the unsimplified, right? I calculate what the hydroxide concentration is, which is just equal to this, so I could have just said that it's equal to that. And then I also calculate the acid concentration and the conjugate base concentration based on my other mass balance and charge balance equations. So hopefully that helps you figure out what's going on. In problem 727, where I figured out how to do this as a function of the coefficient, right, the activity coefficient, we need to know the ionic strength. In order to know the ionic strength, you have to know approximately what the concentrations will be to begin with. And so my equation here, which is based for KSP, is based on the K1, it's based on this coefficient, and it's based on the hydroxide ion concentration. You can do this calculation without considering the coefficient first and figure out what the hydroxide ion concentration would be in that case, calculate all these other things from what you know, and then calculate the ionic strength, and then determine this coefficient, and then change this equation to consider the coefficient. Once you've considered the coefficient, then you can recalculate this. The thing that this is going to have trouble with is if I change this now to 0.04, just to change it, and I try to set this equal. So now here I actually have the value I'm trying to set it equal to. If I go to GoalSeek, set that to the value 6.5 e to the minus 6. By changing this cell here, I can get my answer back that I had before. I match exactly. You have to be careful. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, these calculations here don't seem to be dependent on... so here, okay, here's what I did. I recopied my hydroxide ion concentration down here so that these calculations and the ionic strength calculation would be separate from this hydroxide that would change. If you made this equal, right, if I said this is the one I'm going to change and I want this one to be equal to this one, then I'm going to have a problem when I goal seek, because that's going to change this, that's going to change the ionic strength, and then I'm going to change my coefficient, and it's going to redo it and go in a cycle. And wouldn't it be great if that actually works? Sometimes I can get it to work, and sometimes it just crashes my program. So I want this to be 6.5 e to the minus 6 by changing this cell here, and I say OK, and then it keeps going, and it doesn't know what to do with that. So it actually got pretty close, but it wasn't quite sure how to keep up with itself, so I didn't quite get the same answer.